What's up, guys? Farooqi Bros here, back with the final stream of 2022. And today we're going to be doing our top 10 lists of movies. So each of us have different lists. We all watch different movies, different genres. I feel like this year we watched the biggest parody of movies across different genres. So I was looking at our list from previous years, and I really do like our list this year. So I'm excited to debate with you guys on what we think. So basically, it's a very simple question for everybody. Top 10 movies of 2022. I'm sure that number one is going to be the most contentious among all of us, because we discussed what was the one movie that stands apart against all others. But usually I go around the table, but today I'm giving my own list first. So I'm starting us off. I'm starting us off. So that means so mine. Should we go 10 to 1 or 1 to 10? What are you guys thinking? What's the right way?
10 to 1.
10 to 1. All right. So my number 10, I'm gonna get my whole list out here because make it easy on you guys. My number 10 is The Woman King. And Viola Davis is my pick for Best Actress of the Year. So I really like the movie, very well directed. I had a chance to speak with the director at a press event last month, and just hearing her thought process on the movie, I think it made it that much more better to me now that I understand kind of where she was going with it. So number 10 is The Woman King. For number 9, I have Nope. So Nope, we all saw it together in July. Very interesting movie. I'm not a huge horror movie guy, to be honest. In fact, I would say it's my least favorite genre. So this one, I think, was palpable for me, but also very enjoyable. Cinematography was on flames the whole time. So probably one of the nicest looking movies of the year, in my opinion. Moving on to my number 8, I have Elvis. Austin Butler is my pick for Best Actor of the Year. I think he did a fantastic job. The movie really is driven by him and incredible directing. So that's my number 8. My number 7 is Everything Everywhere All at Once. For a lot of people, this is the number 1 movie of the year. It joined the 1 million reviewed list on Letterboxd, which is considered a lot of people are watching it, which is pretty big for a film of such a low budget, relatively. So I think they did a great job. It's it's a very interesting story. I think it did the multiverse better than Doctor Strange did. So it's crazy to say the best multiverse movie of the year wasn't a superhero movie, but that is the case this year. After that, I have Marcel the Shell. So this is a personal choice. I really like the movie. It's a very wholesome message. I think it's exactly what film audiences needed this year. So I would give Marcel that spot. Now we're rounding up our top 5. My number 5 is Avatar: The Way of Water. We'll discuss Avatar a little later and get into the weeds of it, but Avatar was one of my most favorite movies of the year. I was calling for the beginning of the year. I was saying Avatar is the dark horse for being either the best movie of the year or one of the best movies of the year. Thankfully, I wasn't disappointed. It was as good as I thought it would be. Number 4 is The Batman. We've talked about The Batman ad nauseum on this stream this whole year. Matt Reeves is, he's him basically. So, when it comes to superhero movie directors, he's gonna show up and show out every single time. So The Batman met expectations. Top 3 movies of the year. Top Gun Maverick sits at number 3 for me. Tom Cruise is just insane. So I think at this point he just gets that nod, for doing the craziest stunts that he does, and it really did bring cinema back. At this moment, after we'll pass it, but at the moment, at $1.4 billion, Top Gun Maverick is the top grossing movie of 2022 box office wise, which is insane. When is the last time a superhero movie didn't win top grossing? But this is the first year where a superhero movie is not even going to be top 3 grossing. The top 3 movies of this year, the $3 billion movies, is Avatar, Top Gun, and Jurassic World. So no superhero movies cracked $1 billion this year. Top 2 movies of the year. Number 2 is Pinocchio. I absolutely love Pinocchio. I love Guillermo del Toro's artistic style. I love the stop motion. I love the dedication, the craft. And I think in a year where animation is being so disrespected as a medium, him showing up with Pinocchio and being one of the best movies of the year, I think is just a testament to his filmmaking genius. So Pinocchio is my number 2. And number 1 movie of the year is the Banshees of Inisherin. I hope I'm pronouncing that last word right. I've never had the right way of pronouncing it, but we'll just
even though they said it a few times in the film.
Listen, it's a hard accent to crack. So I'll call it Banshees for short from now on. But Banshees is my number 1 movie of the year. When I first watched it, I was not completely. Well, the first 5-10 minutes of it, I was not completely thrilled. I was like, it's gonna be one of those movies. It might be a little too pretentious for me. It's gonna be a chore to get through. But the more I went through it, I was like, wait a minute, this is some heat. Like this is pretty good. So and by the end of it, I'm like, wait a minute, is this movie the best movie of the year? It just might be. So that is my top 10. I'll put it on the screen for you guys to see my top 10 movies of the year. That's how it looks like. Zian, I'm gonna jump to you next. Would you prefer I put it on the screen first, or you're just gonna talk? You're gonna riff your way through. He's muted, but you're muted.
Yeah, I'll just riff my way through it.
Go for it.
So number 10, I had Glass Onion. I think it was just an enjoyable film. Had a great ensemble cast. I think it will win best ensemble over the menu. And I think it handled all of the actors very well in their roles. And it was just a fun and interesting film. It was less of a mystery than the first one, like more of a traditional mystery style movie, but I still enjoyed it more than the first one. I think it was just a good film. So I guess that would be number 10. Though I didn't really like how it ended. It kind of all fell apart at the end a little bit. So that's why it's at the bottom of my top 10 list. But I still think it was good enough to break into the list. At number 9, this is a film that straws at much higher, is Marcel the Shell. I think it was a very wholesome film. It was a nice film to watch, but it wasn't like absolutely crazy or something where it would be higher than 9 for me based on the rest of the movies that I've seen. Number 8 is Nope, which Strauss said mostly everything about it. It was just filmed very beautifully. A lot of the scenes and a lot of the story themes were woven into the story very well, and they're very moving and very potent. So I think that was just a great movie. And of course, Jordan Peele, like he hits it hard every single time he directs, and this was just another example of that. So that'll be my number 8. Number 7 is a surprise for probably a lot of people who probably have this much higher in their list, which is Avatar: The Way of Water. And I know, though, it was a very visually moving film, the VFX is probably the best in history for any blockbuster or any film this type. They really went above and beyond on it. But for me, the story was a little tame. As for a sequel, I would have preferred to push the envelope a little more and maybe try a little more things with the characters. It felt kind of like the first movie redone in a different way, because it was just a lot of setup, a lot of new characters, and laying the foundation for what's to come next, rather than doing something with most of the characters from the first movie. So that was kind of my gripe with the film, which is why it's kind of low on my top 10 list. Number 6 for me is Elvis. And like Strauss said, Austin Butler is really just, he gave such an amazing performance, and he really captured Elvis well, and you can feel that through the performance of the character. And he, just like Strauss said, for me also, I think he is the best chance of winning Best Actor. And just for those reasons, that would be my 6th best film of this year. Number 5 is Top Gun Maverick. Box office, aside from the box office, which is obviously an amazing feat, it really is just a very, very well-made film on every level. And it was just a very enjoyable, very fun watch. And so that would be my number 5th. Number 4 is Pinocchio, which is arguably one of the best animated movies of all time. And you really think about the current state of animated movies that come out, whether it's Disney, DreamWorks, Pixar, whatever. It's very homogenized, very assembly line-esque, where they all have the same visual style. They all have the same type of dialogue, the same type of story. It feels very similar to each other, which is really, really like making the animation market kind of stale. But then you have outliers like Spider-Verse and like now Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, which is just way ahead of the curve. And like, this is how an anime movie is supposed to be done. Not just for the stop motion, which is obviously a huge technical feat in itself, but just for the story and for the writing itself. So that would be my number 4th film. Number 3 is Everything Everywhere All at Once. I was kind of going back and forth between this and number 2, but I think after settling it, this was one of the best movies of the year. It's my only it's one of the only 3 5 out of 5 movies I gave, which I thought were just perfect on every level. So this will be my number 3. Number 2 is Banshees of Inisherin, which was also kind of, I wasn't like Strasbourg where I started it. I was kind of falling out of it, or I thought it was going to be a chore. I was like, okay, this is an interesting movie just to even starting with, to begin with. But as you just keep going in it, it really unravels all the layers. And there's a lot of subtext and context going on that you might not get when you're really trying to like gloss over it. But if you really take it for what it is, then you really see the subtext and the context, and it is a very amazing movie for that reason. And number one, no bias involved, obviously, is The Batman, which it was just an amazing movie, and I think it did everything perfectly for what you would want in a Batman movie and how would you want Batman portrayed and in the world of Batman portrayed and the characters and everything. It was just handled absolutely amazing and is my number one film of the year.
I said we'll go back around, discuss individual movies, and like kind of like deep dive into a couple of them. But I do think there's some worth discussing these points further. Samir, I'm going to go to you next. Do you prefer I put your list up right away, or do you want to say it like before I put it up? Wait, did I put Jan's thing on the screen yet? Here's Jan's list in totality right here. Here's 1 through 10. So that's what his list looks like, and comparison here was mine. So some differences here and there between us, but I think is it the same top 10? No, it's not, because I had The Woman King and Ziana had Glass Onion. But other than that, we have the same 9. Samir, you're up next. What was your top 10 of the year?
All right. Starting from the bottom, my 10th was Marcel the Shell. I feel like I only had this on because I missed a couple of big movies, if I'm being honest. Plus, it's 2021, so we kind of snuck it in just for theatrical release. It was still really good. I think it was probably one of the most emotional movies of this year. So I don't mind having it in my top 10. Number 9, I had Tar, which I thought was really interesting. Feels like the pretentious choice, but it was kind of about how the character is fake pretentious. So I guess I'll allow it. And if the first hour and a half didn't feel like taking a college class, it would have been higher on my list because it was very slow to start. 8, I have After Sun, which is very sad but also very slow. For a movie that's under 2 hours, it felt like it was longer than 3 hours, if I'm being honest. But it was structured really well, especially if you consider that it was the director's debut movie. I think it was really complex and emotional, so I have it 8. Next, I have Nope, which wasn't Jordan Peele's best, but it was still really good. We talked about Nope a lot, so I'll just gloss over it. Then I have Pinocchio, which Zane made some great points about, but I feel like they kind of rushed the ending, so I didn't have this higher on my list. Although I do think it's one of the best animated movies.
Yeah.
5th, I have Avatar, which the story was lacking, but the visuals were so nice, and the world building was really nice, so I have it in my top 5. Then I have Top Gun Maverick, which I feel like kind of aged a little poorly for me, since the story was just okay. But that was the case for Avatar too. 4th, I have The Batman, which was one of the 3 5 out of 5s that I had for this year. We talked about
wait a second. You said you have Batman 4th, but you only have 3 5 out of 5s.
No, I have Batman 3rd. Sorry.
Okay.
Batman 3rd. 2nd, I have Everything Everywhere All at Once, which I was considering putting it first since it was my favorite movie until I saw the movie that I have first, which is Banshees of Inisherin. I feel like this movie is very thematically complex for such a simple and grounded story, especially since all the other stories are very gimmicky compared to this, I feel like, just because of how simple this one is. And that's why I had it first over Everything Everywhere All at Once. Both 5 out of 5. I feel like they're interchangeable for me.
So you're interchangeable between Banshees and Everything Everywhere.
Yeah. Sorry.
Not bad. All right, last, I'm going to show Samir's list on full, so you guys see it. Here's Samir's top 10 films of the year. I had to put it with the films so you can see it. That's his top 10, top to bottom. I think all of us have films that the other person doesn't have, but more or less, I think there are 8 films that all 3 of us share between the 10. I think you have 2 films that we don't. You don't have Elvis and you don't have Woman King. Zion also doesn't have Woman King, but he put Glass Onion. Glass Onion, I know, Samir, you're not a big fan of. Maybe we'll get to it later. But yeah, and then last but not least is Mr. Boo, Mr. Umar. Want to give your top 10 or top 5?
I'm not giving my top 10. I'll give my top 1 because
this guy
out of all the.
Is it because number 6 is Black Adam and he gets hit?
Oh God. No, even though I didn't watch a lot of the films this year, I know Black Adam isn't on the top 100 list. So even if there wasn't 100 movies that came out this year.
Before you go, I just wanted to say that when this picture came up, I thought it was Umar and Saf talking, but I was like, no, okay.
Oh God. Who's Saf and who man? Who's Saf?
Yeah, Saf is Pinocchio.
Saf is taller than me now, bro.
Oh no, okay. So go on with your list. Do you want me to put up my list as a
Yeah, just put up your list, I guess.
I'll put up my list as a guide. How about that?
Well, actually, give my top one. I already know what my top one is.
What's the top one?
And it's the Batman, if I'm honest.
And
Batman
why is the Batman?
Because it was well made. It's for all the points that Zane said. It's like the best of that world. Like if you wanted, it's everything a Batman fan and just a DC fan in general would want out of a standalone Batman film that built that world, and they did a really good job of setting up a future for that franchise after, like in the midst of DC not knowing what the hell they want to do. So I think props to them. Although I will say, like, because I didn't really watch much this year, like even with the Batman, for some weird reason, it just didn't age that well with me. I think maybe it's because it's a detective story and you kind of know everything that will happen, so whatever. But it was good for what it was. Like I liked, and I liked the world building aspect Matt Reeves established with the Penguin, and all the characters that are now gonna have their own kind of day to shine. So yeah.
So there you go. What do you have any secondary choice? Any other movies that came up on your list? You're like from this group, like overall.
I guess I didn't watch anything from this list. Like I just, so there's nothing to.
Batman,
I'm sure if I watched Pinocchio, I think Pinocchio might have been. I might have just slided in as number one, but I didn't watch it yet.
It was pretty good. So then that opens up the second debate I wanted to do, because the three of Mizan and Samir, we had like a good amount of movies this year, but I wanted to kind of put two images up on here for you guys to look at. The first is my list for the top films of 2022. Let me remove this banner. And I also wanted to show you my list for 2021. And my debate question to you guys, we can go around the room. 2022 versus 2021, which year cleared? Like, which was the better year of movies? And I know my 2021 list might not be everyone's, but in general, if I had to ask you guys a question, did 2021 have a better year, or did 2022 have a better year? Which one would it be?
I'm obviously going to say 21 because there's more superhero movies involved. So.
More superhero movies. So Zian,
I'm guessing it's a better. I'm guessing this year had more
2021.
quality.
2021, I think, was led by Dune. I think Dune was one cut above every other movie. The Green Knight, I think, was great. As far as superhero movies go, I think Zack Snyder's Justice League was the best superhero movie of last year. Where this year you have a lot more indie films. I mean, the blockbusters still stand because Avatar, Top Gun, and The Batman are your three big blockbusters who have top 10 presence. Whereas in 2021, the only blockbusters was really Dune, maybe James Bond, No Time to Die, and then Spider-Man No Way Home. That's even if Spider-Man is still on our list. This was my list at the end of December, so recency bias had me put Spider-Man pretty high. In hindsight, I don't think Spider-Man No Way Home aged that well as a film. It was a good experience, but maybe not the best film. But my question to you guys, Samir, I'll let you go first on this one, actually. Ulmer went first, I'll let you go second. 2021 versus 2022, what was the better year?
Samir.
I thought you were first.
Oh, didn't I already give it or no?
I thought.
Yeah, you did. You just talked about it. Samir too.
My fault then. Okay. I think 2022 cleared. I think I gave a lot more 5 out of 5s this year. I think it's really hard to order the list at the top because of how good a lot of the movies were. 2021 was okay. I feel like Dune and Green Knight were really the only standouts for me. But 2023 is looking like it could clear.
Well, yeah, and that's going to be actually our next week's stream. We're discussing 2023 like movies and what we're most excited for. But so you're saying 2022 was better than 2021. Zian, what about you?
Coming on next year, anyways.
We'll discuss that. But with Oppenheimer, Christopher Nolan, we got Dune 2. We got a couple of movies. Zian, what from 2021 versus 2022? What is the better year? Like, over to you at least. What was the better standout year?
It's hard to say because I was looking at my list for both of them, and based on just the top 10, I would say 2022 is better. But based on the totality of movies I've seen, 2022 had a lot of, outside of my top 10 or 11, or maybe 12, the rest of the movies are pretty bad. Like compared to 2021, where outside of my top 10, it wasn't such a steep drop off, But this year, I feel like outside of my top 10 or 11, it's like there's a pretty big quality drop in the movies. So it's hard for me to think that, okay, which is better in a totality sense. But I guess since just the top 10 of my 2022 is better, I would say 2022 is a better year for film.
All right, not bad, not bad. So Uzi's jumping in the comments saying that one water guy carried Avatar. So I don't know which water guy because there were many of them, but we'll go with it. The one water guy.
I said 2021. I meant 2021 is better.
2021. All right. We have Top Gun Maverick was surprisingly good, and I need to watch the first Top Gun to enjoy it. It's one of the movies you must watch in theaters. I agree. I think I can't tell how I'd feel about Top Gun if I watched it at home. I think it wouldn't fly the same way. I feel the same with Avatar, honestly. Some of these movies are really built for the big screen, which is a testament to 2022 because this was the year where we finally, not completely rebounded, but theatrically we have rebounded from the pandemic. So where 2021 we were dealing with direct to streaming releases where a lot of the movies were getting day and dated by Jason Kilar from HBO Max at least. So now we have to go to the movies again, have to go to theaters again. And 2022 was probably one of the busiest years of our life, like as the Farooqi Bros, has been an incredibly busy year. But the fact that there's been still a lot of good entertainment to enjoy made it, a lot of fun. The animated stop motion Pinocchio is definitely the best film compared to the other two Pinocchio films. And that's a good point because there were 3 Pinocchio movies this year. And 2 of them were quite bad. One being actually the Disney remake. So I would say Pinocchio, Guillermo was just absolutely cleared from all animated movies. And then Fatma jumps in saying the Banshees. It took her a week to really like it, and at first she felt very weird about it, but it grew. I feel the same way. It grew as day by day, and the more layers you unpack it, because on paper it's such a simplistic movie, but the more you get into it, you're like, wait a minute, these layers are kind of adding on to each other, So Samir, I'm gonna challenge. My wife's gonna challenge you on one point, and we'll start that as our first topic because Fatma's saying Tar was not good at all. I genuinely could not enjoy it, but you put Tar in your top 10. So let's discuss Tar for a second. Like, what was it about Tar that you liked?
Tar was really interesting. I liked the concept of separating the art from the artist. I feel like the story was pretty simple to follow through, even though it was slow. I really like how they showed the characters' psychological. I don't know what is it like. She was kind of losing her mind throughout the film, and that was coinciding with her career. Kind of, it was all spiraling downwards. And I like how the character was. I really like the character complexity. I feel like it was a character study basically, and Cate Blanchett obviously was an amazing actress. If she made the character feel like it was a real person. Overall, I understand the criticism for this movie. If there is, I saw a lot of reviews; they were all near perfect, but I don't get that because of how slow it was. I feel like if you don't really care about music or whatever they're talking about for the first like 30 minutes, then you wouldn't really get into it. But once you get past that, I feel like it's a really interesting story. And
yeah, go ahead.
The little horror elements that they add to it, that I feel like really added to it.
Umar, the chat is calling for you. They're like, where's Umar Farooqi? He's hiding behind the camera.
Oh God,
he's back. All right. So Tar, I mean, like I was pretty lukewarm with Tar. I mean, I watched it with Fatma, so like we were pretty lukewarm going into it. Again, the more I've thought about it, it has gotten better than I originally thought it was. I still don't think it was in my top 10. It doesn't fit in my top 10 properly. I think it is because, like you mentioned, unless you're really into it, like the kind of the nature of artistry and what the message the film is giving, then it's going to be hard to get into it. But I do agree with you on the character study because the interesting thing about this movie, and I could be wrong, but I think every single scene of the movie was following her. So we never got a scene where 2 other characters were talking about something else. she was in every single scene of the movie, which is which is one of the reasons why she might win Best Actress, is because she was in every single scene, which is rare for a movie when you think about it, where every single beat is following her, and then you have to kind of just balance that in your head, like you're seeing her descend into madness kind of through the movie, and then you have to decide in the end, because the movie doesn't really give you a concrete answer on like the central issue. So you have to kind of decide then like whose side are you on at the end of the day. I thought the ending shot obviously was great, but I don't know, Tar, not my top 10, but it is on your top 10, Samir. It didn't end up on Zian's top 10 either. So I think it's one of the movies that it could get award nominations. It will get, well, it has get nominations, but it might win some awards, but I don't know if it's going to win Best Picture, though it is going to get nominated, I'm sure. And then for the last topic, Fatima mentioned that 2021 had Dune, which was amazing, but 2022 was also solid. And then we have a Marvel thing. I think Marvel gets worse moving forward. Disney has been displaying a lot of BS. So you can make a case that this was a bad year for Marvel compared to last year. I think like all three movies were, outside of Black Panther, I think all three movies weren't that great. And Umar, as someone who loved Thor: Love and Thunder, you're the only person on the other side, but the rest of us were, I'm joking, were on that list.
Thor's the worst.
So I want to segue this into another movie this year, which was on everyone's different lists. And I didn't even put the thing up. Where is it? Oh yeah, it was everyone's number one movies, which was Banshees. I want to kind of like sit on Banshees for a minute and talk about it a little more, because this movie might just win Best Picture. So Zian, I want to give you do you think this movie has a chance to win Best Picture this year?
It definitely has a chance to win. I think it would be even deserving if it does win. I'm not sure what else it's facing. Like, I know Avatar might slip in, but what else would Banshees be going against, in this category?
I think it's going against Top Gun. It's going against Avatar. It's going to go against, obviously, Tar. It's going to go against those kind of movies,
Yeah, so I think definitely based on those films, I think Banshees definitely deserves to win, just because of, like how Samir mentioned, it's just so, and like you mentioned as well, it's so simplistic on paper, and the concept, if you're not really watching the movie with actual intent, you might miss everything in a way, because it on surface level, it's such a simplistic and basic movie, but then when you really think about what's happening and as it's going through the movie, things are really, the layers are breaking down, it's opening up a bit. It really is just a very great movie, and I think for that reason, because it's so different from the norm and from what we're used to expecting from films, and Samir kind of looked at this point as well, of like the tropes and stuff that are so common in films today. This was kind of a distant thing from that, and it made its own special like bubble of what this movie is, and I think that just allows it to stand out as something special compared to even something like Top Gun, where it still falls into the general tropes and basic ideas of what a blockbuster is and should be. This is just something different. I feel like for that reason, it deserves to win, and I hope it does win.
It's funny because this movie has two people from also the Batman. You have Colin Farrell, who played Penguin in the Batman. You have Barry Keoghan, who played Joker in the deleted scene, but he's also in the movie too, but his face is covered. Samir, I don't know if you're still there, but I want to kind of talk to you about specifically Barry Keoghan's role. And if he's not there, I'll talk about it. Barry, we'll bring it back now. So Barry Keoghan's role, I thought he was the dark horse stand of the movie. I know the real movie is between Farrell and Gleason, right? I'm saying his name right, yeah. So the main movie is about those two, but I thought Barry Keoghan's character was so unique in this movie, and the end message. Spoiler alert: whether you believe or not that the character commits suicide in the end, it really goes far into the psyche of him and him breaking down. Because this again is an allegory of the Irish Civil War, but you're seeing him again it feels like his hope is going out every movie and every scene. He starts kind of really on top, kind of as a character, and then he gets beat by his father. Then he has trust in Colin Farrell's character. Then he loses that trust. Then he falls in love with the girl who also doesn't kind of accept him. And then in the end, you see him dead in the water. And I want to say this is his character arc made it really sold it to me that this could be the best movie of the year. So I'm thinking, Samir, do you agree with me on that one? His performance in this movie?
I do agree. I think he's a great character throughout the movie. Barry Keoghan. I feel like it's Keoghan. I don't know.
Keoghan, I call him Keegan. I'm wrong. Yeah.
He was an amazing actor throughout. He was so good in this movie. I felt like he deserved some more scenes. But I understand why they wouldn't have more scenes for him, because of the character's arc throughout the movie.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Yeah, I think for best supporting actor, I think he has a good chance. I think for best supporting, I think he's one of the best supporting roles. So definitely this movie. I think it was either one or two for the three of us. So I think it definitely deserves that. I think in a lot of ways. So I want to move from that to Avatar: The Way of Water. I feel like there's something to discuss here. There's a point here to discuss. And I feel like me and Zan have been debating this for so long. So I think it's finally time to do it on camera, you know? Let me just put the topic up. Wait, but before we do that, I forgot that we have a sponsor today. We got to do the sponsor. All right, so we have a sponsor today, and it's Movie Palette. So if you guys don't know Movie Palette, it's basically a film board which full of millions of stripes, and each stripe represents a color of a particular scene of the movie. And when it's put into chronological order, you basically get the entire film reel of that movie compressed into one painting. So the folks at Movie Palette reached out to the Farooqi Bros, and they were like, hey, we want to send you something, but which movie do you want? So I was looking through the list, and there's some incredible products, which you can definitely take a look on their site. The link is in the description below. And if you use the code DEBATE15, from Cinema Debate, you'll get a 15% discount on any product. So it's pretty lit. It's a good discount. But I want to show you the one we got, and I have it right here. This is the film board for Zack Snyder's Justice League. Let me get it in the thing here. There you go. Yeah. Zack Snyder's Justice League. So this movie is actually not natively available on their website. So you can custom order it and ask for custom orders. You guys take a look at what a 4.5-hour movie's reel would look like. So this is Justice League. As you can tell, any movie you pick is going to have, depending on the color scheme, depending on the palette of that movie, will either look really bright, really dark. The Batman has an incredible one as well for those who are into superhero movies. But I'm sure this entire top 10 list we discussed also has their own board. So definitely take a look. Appreciate Movie Palette for the sponsorship on that one. I'll leave it right here. It'll be in view, a little bit view. Yeah, I'll leave it right here. We're chilling. Yeah, so there you go. So it's right here, Movie Palette. 15% discount, 15% discount if you put debate 15. So check it out. I'll just put it down now in case before it breaks by mistake. And check it out at your point. Oh, look, Alex said I got a palette for Christmas for Zack Snyder Justice League. It was epic, highly recommended. So there you go. So I want to move from our sponsorship to the topic I was going to bring up, which is Avatar: The Way of Water. So again, all of us agree, visually, one of the best movies of the year. It's extremely expensive to make. Every single thing feels lifelike, even though it's almost a complete CGI movie. And it's on everyone's list for top 10 somewhere, everyone really loved the movie. I love Avatar, and James Cameron continues to display his technical filmmaking brilliance. But I wanted to discuss kind of the topic of, is Avatar: The Way of Water, what is the cultural impact, if it has any cultural impact? People mention on social media that a movie like Glass Onion has more memes and more social media discussion than Avatar, but Avatar is marching its way to potentially $2 billion. So we discussed kind of what is the middle ground? Does Avatar have staying power? Why is it performing as good as it is? And maybe we have some different opinions here. So Jan, what's your opinion on this one? Maybe you change it. You don't have to stick to the one you had before, but do you think Avatar has cultural relevance as a film, or does it even need to have it?
That's a two-pronged question. I guess it doesn't need to have it. There's a lot of noise going on in the background.
What's going on?
It doesn't need to have it. Obviously, based on its box office, it doesn't need to have anything to make the money it's having. But I think that it doesn't have cultural impact. And I will stand on that hill. I will die on that hill. It doesn't, because it's just because it made $1 billion twice. And it's because the first one's at the highest grossing film of all time or whatever. And this one also crossed $1 billion. That doesn't mean it has cultural impact. it just means it was a good movie. There's a big difference. Those two don't mean the same thing. Just because it makes so much money doesn't mean it has impact. And one of my big points with this is that it's identical. This movie is identical to the first film. And I think because it was such a big gap between the two, there's such a huge difference between the visuals and the upgrades and everything that was made on a technical level, where when the first Avatar came out, it was also such a huge technical marvel, and it was also 3D, and it was made in such an amazing way, and the visuals for that time were the best they were. All the word of mouth, all like the hype around it was crazy, and that led people to want to see it and see what it's all about. And because it's been so long, this film is the exact same thing. It's a technical achievement. The visuals are the best of its time. Also 3D again. So it's just another reason to, let's just see how amazing this is, just for the sake of seeing how amazing it is. But it doesn't mean it's some big cultural thing or has a big impact on pop culture or culture in general. It's just a very good movie for the sake of being a good movie, and that's why it makes money. But I don't think it's like a comparison I made when we were discussing the movie ourselves in private, was that it's just like a sophisticated man's Transformers, where the Transformers franchise also makes billions of dollars in totality, but nobody thinks that, that's such a highly regarded cultural impact movie. And really, obviously, the impact on culture, Transformers probably higher than Avatar, but it didn't make as much money, and that's because of pre-existing characters and whatnot. But I think just looking at a film perspective, they're also very similar. Transformers also actually pretty strong visuals, and the CGI is usually always top-notch in those films, and it clears $1 billion because it's just a fun movie to see.
To be fair, no Transformers movie made $1 billion after the third one. Like they've been declining ever since. Like, so even
then I guess that's just audience fatigue, But still, at least if the first 3 films made $1 billion, that's still saying something. Avatar's only seen 2, and I think the gap between the two helped Avatar 2 also be hyped up more. I think the real tell will be seen in Avatar 3, especially since hopefully they'll be coming out in succession closer together rather than such a big gap. And I think based on what Avatar 3 does, then you can have an actual discussion of, okay, did this have actually a strong impact on popular culture or whatnot?
Well, immediately I disagree, and I can break down your argument pretty easily, so I will do that now. First of all, if a movie didn't have big impact, they wouldn't build like half of Disney World around it. Like half of Animal Kingdom was remade. And think about it, to get any
is that impact, or is that because Disney sees the dollar signs in their eyes?
Wait, but if there's no impact, there'd be no dollar signs. There'd be no dollar signs. If it had no impact outside the movie itself, then there is no dollar signs, right? But they decide they're gonna break Animal Kingdom down, and half of it is gonna be just for Avatar.
Okay,
and they're gonna put
let's see, how can they revitalize a failing park compared to all the other parks? That's probably the lowest park,
It actually was not the lowest park. That's probably the lowest park.
Let's keep it civil.
It was not the failing park. That's a different point.
If a movie made like $2 billion,
they could make a Lion King world.
They capitalize on so
many things. No, they could have made so many worlds. First of all, number 2 is that you're looking too much into America. And I think we have one good comment saying that the international culture impact. China hasn't shown up for even one movie this year for America, but they're making hundreds of millions of dollars for Avatar. For some reason, this movie's resonating in those countries. It's resonating in Asia. It's resonating in South America. It's resonating across the Pacific. So why in America it's doing better than obviously the other superhero movie this year, but there's a reason. Like, what is the reason that Avatar is doing better than the Batman? When Batman is by far the more popular character, the more well-known character. I'm not saying Avatar has more impact than Batman as a character, but I'm saying is that once in a while, you have to put Avatar in almost the world of Star Wars and Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter at its prime, not Fantastic Beasts, as like these franchises that transcend regular pop culture and become like these juggernaut movies. Where like when Avatar comes out, it doesn't matter if you know the lore, it doesn't matter if you've seen any of the movies, it doesn't matter if you know any of the characters, you're buying a ticket. And that impact that you're gonna buy a ticket no matter what.
You're saying what Transformers was
diminishing. Transformers no, but Transformers diminishing. Samir, jump in. Where do you stand?
You think anybody knows those other like Transformers aside from Optimus Prime? They don't care. They
just
go to see because it's not about visual spectacle.
It's not about knowing the characters. Samir, jump in. It's not about knowing the characters.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. You think people know all the Transformers? No. It's just a visual spectacle. That's why they made billions.
All right, Samir, give your point.
I think I agree more with Shiraz on this one. I feel like there's some inherent cultural impact just because it's a legacy sequel to the highest grossing film of all time, right? And obviously Avatar 1 had some cultural impact for its being a technical advancement for its time. I feel like this movie has some cultural impact just
You
because
feel like
the industry is very oversaturated with the the other culture, the other big culture impact, which I would say is Marvel, just because it transformed the entire industry and it's making billions almost every time. Has fallen off this year. None of them made $1 billion, right? Maybe did
No.
Wakanda Forever make $1 billion?
Black
no,
Panther made it.
It didn't, I think. Did it? Someone
I
can
think
I don't
fact check
remember.
that.
She's
I mean, I think-
someone
okay, but
fact
I
check
think
it.
here's the thing.
closest the movie got was Doctor
What's the
Strange 2.
difference between Marvel and Avatar? Avatar's just better CGI.
But that's not true because
That's
one
different.
Avatar's
That
better
is the
quality.
difference.
Avatar's a
That's the
movie.
difference.
That's
Marvel
the
is garbage
That's a
CGI,
bad
and Avatar is the
argument.
best CGI ever. You know.
Are you crazy? No, but
Well,
it's not.
so
Avatar's
what do you guys mean? What do you guys mean when you say cultural impact again? Like, what do you mean by that? Like, what
We
does that
mean
mean?
impact from as far as films go, like in entertainment, pop culture impact. I mean, culture impact is the wrong word. Pop culture impact is the right word. Pop culture impact worldwide. How
Because
much
cultural impact is
not culture. We're talking about pop
wouldn't
culture.
be right. Yeah,
We're
it
talking
wouldn't
pop
make
culture
sense.
impact on entertainment. So some things like we get it. Marvel has a juggernaut impact on the world because of merchandise sales, this, that, and Avatar. Yeah, no one's really walking around with an Avatar T-shirt, but is merchandise our barometer then? Because there's what's the barometer? If the barometer is money, then Avatar is winning by box office. If it's merchandise, then Marvel's winning. But if it's just general, like what it needs to be, like it's hard. It's a different discussion because I think we become brain rotted by like everything has to be something we know. It has to be a callback. Oh, this superhero is back again. This is happening again, or like we have to sell something by relying on nostalgia. Avatar has
So
no
that's
nostalgia.
part of culture. That's part of impact. What are you
No, that's
talking
part
about?
of the current impact because we become like we're almost.
Oh, yeah, but
drunk
how
on
far does that go?
nostalgia.
How far does it go? Would you say Lord of the Rings movies, Harry Potter movies?
I just
those called that because they're based on a book.
I just said
because it's based on something
I
doesn't
just
mean it's
said-
worthless. You know.
I
Just
just
because
said
Avatar
I
is
just-
made up
no.
from his
I
mind
just
alone.
said that. I just said that Avatar's in the.
It's all made
class-
up.
I said it's in the class of Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. So I already put it in that class. I'm not saying it's separate. I'm saying
it's
it's not.
How
the same
is
class.
that different from being based on a comic book? Based
No,
on a
I'm
regular
saying-
book or a comic
I
book?
don't say
How is
based
it
on a comic book. I'm saying the way that we've consumed it. Look at the way No Way Home came out. That everyone was just freaking out over the Andrew Garfield leak, right? It's the way that we've consumed superhero movies has led to genuine like nullification of anything that's not a big multiverse or big crossover movie is garbage. If you're not like No Way Home, if you're not something that's bringing an old character back, then you're not good. Which is the wrong way to look at movies. That's why the Marvel movies that are not popular are the ones that have no big cameos, right? Now everything's reliant on the cameo. I'm saying that.
Okay, but now let's
we have
talk.
we have a filmmaker who's not doing that, and we should give it credit.
Okay, so but then you can say same thing for Top Gun. Why
Okay, I
is
agree.
Top Gun's better than this?
Is Top Gun?
But what cultural impact does Top Gun have? Why
Okay,
are we having a
I-
huge conversation about Top Gun's cultural impact, a pop cultural impact?
We're not because again, Avatar is the most watched movie of all time, and that's not even considering the DVD sales, right?
Is it though?
And Top Gun doesn't have theme parks around it. It doesn't have certain concepts around it that Avatar is getting, so they're different. But and Top Gun is like a legacy sequel, like Samir said. It's similar to this movie. And remember, Top Gun is higher on my list than Avatar. Let's not forget, we brought our top 10 list. I said Avatar. I said Top Gun's a better movie, and I stand by that. But I'm just saying that we're discussing, does it even need any pop culture impact? That's debatable. But I think that it should be celebrated for what it was. Like I don't know.
The thing I really disagree with is that you shouldn't judge the impact just off the memes. I feel that wouldn't make any sense because the impact has existed before Twitter, and those memes are not even like it's nothing. It's like Gen Z stuff. Does it even matter?
I agree with that as well.
Great talk. Great debate.
There you go. We debated. I mean, I'll go to the comments now.
It took years to do it, but yeah, we got there.
I'll get some of the comments. Alec is saying that I think it does have impact, partially because of the large gap in time and because of how groundbreaking the mocap was. Memes don't equal culture impact, same that Samir said. And then Robotiku said, "Oh, we know it has meme culture impact." And then it'll be interesting the impact of the next few Avatar movies. That I agree with John. I think it's gonna. The thing is, get on the train now because it's already left. Like when Avatar 3 comes out and it truly cements itself as probably one of the best trilogies and moving into the best one of the best 5 set movies ever made, if not the best. I think by the end of it, we might say it's the best collection of 5 movies in a franchise ever made.
What
And
if it
that's
flops?
pretty big. Because if you compare to then what other 5 movies you're going to compare it to? So I'm saying I'm getting on the train now because I know where it's going. I'm looking ahead. I'm like, okay, if this movie's doing good, I know it's going to be what it is in next time. You know.
All right. For the record, I never said it was bad.
No, I agree. I'm saying that it comparing to Transformers is not right because
no, it's just smarter writing than Transformers, but everything else it's just
everything is smarter writing. Marvel, DC, it's all the same thing. Then.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you're making my point. Avatar is also just one of those films.
No, but Avatar is because it's like doing that film with a filmmaker's mentality, which happens very rarely. Like, how often does that ever happen where you have that much budget and you get to make a movie on your own? Like that's the thing.
Batman, Joker.
Okay. Oh, so you're making my point. And those are some of the best movies. Yeah. Okay. So the best superhero movies ever made were the ones where the filmmaker.
We laughed at the last one.
Control.
Tried to sneak one in.
You know?
I thought you were sneaky with it.
The Tari jumps in the USA. It's not doing the best, but internationally it is. It's at 1.5 billion after 2 weeks. That is impact. And then Alex says that don't monster and sci-fi movies do better overseas in general most of the time.
Notice how Shraz asked one question and then changed the question midway through.
He makes a good point that things like Godzilla or King Kong movies do better internationally generally also. And then Fatima mentions that the family is seeing it tomorrow and it's going to be seen by many people. It's just not as impactful as the way superhero movies are. So that's a good point as well. And then Alec jumps in that social media culture is mostly nowadays, like Samir said, so people equate impact by how often you see it pop up in memes. Look at God of War. They never saw memes before Ragnarok. So yeah, that's a good point as well. So it's an interesting debate, and I'm happy we had it, as we kind of move forward. Is there any other movie that we wanted to just not fight about, but just get into what?
No, there isn't.
Last time.
Let me ask you the same question. I didn't even involve this guy in the debate. I was like, do you think Avatar?
See, even without watching Avatar, I know I would agree with Zane.
All right, so then
just to disagree with Shraz.
So it's
just to disagree with Shraz.
No, because Shraz does this weird thing where he asks a question and then midway through changes the question to win the debate, and it makes no sense. And I'm done with it. Zane answered the question. You asked him the cultural impact is it the same, and he's like, no, it's not the same. And then you change the question to, no, I didn't mean cultural impact. I meant, I meant pop culture. Like, okay, good job. You won the debate. You changed the question.
That's it. Alec had brought up a question. Smear, isn't Black Adam in your top 10? What's happening?
You want
the most memes I've seen are from Morbius, and if Morbius doesn't have the most pop culture impact, then I don't know what does.
Morbius has impact, I think. It made impact.
Dude, we meme
again, making Zane's point.
Wait, you meme everything. You mean serious stuff. It's not really that deep.
It's not. Yeah, it's not. But and then Fatma adds and here's the thing: general audiences don't participate in media, so we are interested and impacted by it. This is very interesting because when you look at the Nielsen numbers for TV, you see it's a lot. Like there's shows like Wheel of Time, for example, on Amazon, which had almost nobody talking about it on social media. Like it just came and went. But in the number of viewing on Amazon, they're like, oh, this is one of the most watched shows we ever had. So it happens where people, I think a lot of people watching Avatar aren't the people who are on Twitter or on TikTok and on Instagram. They're not. They're the people who aren't on social media, older people sometimes who are taking their families to go and be able to watch this movie. Like it's a different crowd that's interacting with Avatar, not the Gen Z crowd. And
that's why the MCU's GOAT.
So you love Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
No, I hate it. But unfortunately, all those people you just talked about, they're going to watch every single one of those movies. Ant-Man's probably going to make $1 billion.
No one is saying Marvel is in Hollywood.
Oh, you kidding me?
No, it doesn't have to make $1 billion, but this is the first year where no Marvel movie made $1 billion. So there's a chance that we're heading towards salvation. We're heading towards cinema being fixed, maybe, because no Marvel movie hit $1 billion.
COVID
if Ant-Man somehow hits $1 billion, what makes it any different than Avatar 2?
What are you talking about? Because one is a movie and
because
one is
it's your big point. If the big point is that based on the box office it has cultural impact, then I guess every Marvel movie that's over $1 billion has.
That's not the big point. The big point is that Avatar 2 is a film with a blockbuster budget, which almost never happens, and that's all I'm saying. It's a film with a blockbuster budget where most times if a film gets that much of a budget, it becomes producer driven, aka Marvel, aka most of DC, outside of the rare ones.
What about Black Panther?
You're deferring the
But
question.
Black-
You're making a point that wasn't in relation to my question.
No, it is related because you're saying what's the difference? I'm saying
He always does that.
the difference is that Ant-Man's not a movie, and like Martin Scorsese said,
What does that do with cultural impact?
We first of all we're using the word culture culture impact now, but there.
Okay, so Ant-Man makes $1 billion. If Ant-Man 3 makes $1 billion, what's the difference between
there's a
Avatar 2 and
gigantic
Ant-Man
difference. There's a gigantic difference,
in terms of pop culture?
huh? But what's pop culture? Just selling
It's just pop
t-shirts?
culture. What's the difference then?
That falls under like the Marvel umbrella of pop culture.
Yeah, I just said that because I wouldn't credit Ant-Man at all. I would credit Marvel. Is Marvel bigger than Avatar? Of course, it's bigger.
There's so many made $1 billion, but none of them are really that. Like Captain Marvel made $1 billion, but that's not impactful. It kind of is.
Avatar's more.
But
and no, but they read it too. Like Captain Marvel's not getting a theme park ride. You know what I'm saying? Like, so like,
Doesn't Men in Black have a theme park ride?
it does. But you know what? In the '90s, it was different.
It was
Universal didn't have many products. So
did Men in Black not have pop culture impact?
you know what? It 100% does. Let's figure it. Men in Black has impact. People still talk about Men in Black, like in their own way.
Well,
Okay, so then you remember my phone again. Who talks about Avatar? Nobody. Avatar gets forgotten. I asked you one day after we saw the movie, you couldn't even name a single character outside of Jake Sully.
Yeah, it's not about naming any
Yes.
characters.
Jason
Guess what?
Sully.
They only talk about, once again, they only talk about the visual spectacle, which again makes my point that it's just a slightly more pretentious Transformers.
Did you say Jason Sully? Bro?
That's all it talks. It's the selling points of visuals. The selling points of visuals. And that's not a bad thing. It is the best visuals probably of any movie of all time. And it should be, James Cameron and everyone who worked on the movie should be rewarded for that on a technical level. But that doesn't.
I had to put Zayn on me, bro. Bro,
But then if you're talking about what's talked about more, then I guess the Transformers franchise is better than Avatar.
Zane, you won the
It's-
debate.
that's
You easily
why
won the
it's
debate.
very hard.
produce.
It's very
yeah, but
hard to
when do you
compare
see
or
okay,
say what
when
is
do you-
pop impact and what doesn't.
when do you see? I'm saying pop culture for filmmakers is very different because everything else is by committee, like Fatima said. Like a committee movie is everything you're mentioning. Even Transformers is committee. Michael Bay, he put his visual flair on it, but that was not like his complete vision. It was like just whatever the studio wants him to do, and he's just doing it with the characters, you know. So that's the thing. And then Alec adds that I agree with Gerard.
Then what impact does it have? Unless the impact is that now we see other directors also get the privileges that James Cameron has, then there's no impact.
What are
Then
you
what's the
rating
impact?
impact? Well,
You
impact
tell me. I'm saying there is none.
there is Avatar international
And
impact.
I'm saying if there is impact, then it's equivalent to a Transformers movie. Because it's essentially the same movie.
No, but I told you one's a film though. That's the whole difference because the whole thing is that what did Martin Scorsese? We did a whole debate about this.
That
We
doesn't
did
mean anything.
We did a whole debate about this.
You
Last
understand
year.
that doesn't
Remember,
mean anything.
2 years ago. Remember the Martin Scorsese thing where he's like, "Oh, like films have become degraded into just becoming little pocket experiences by flashing colors and stuff like that." And he's not talking. If you sat Martin Scorsese down right here on the stream and asked him, "Is Avatar what you mean?" and say no. Okay, so you can't say, "Oh, it's all same, all CGI," because you're basing it off of like a very basic thing, which is CGI. I'm saying,
But isn't that what the general audiences in the whole world will do? Like, they're not going to be agreeing with. Not everyone is into the whole like, oh, here's a film and here's a movie.
Okay, but I'm
Like,
saying but
people don't understand it
this
that way.
is one of the few times where the wool has been pulled over and people are like, okay, they're gonna watch this movie and it's a real film. But people are going in droves to watch a film. Now, the reason Top Gun doesn't is because Top Gun low key is like just military propaganda. So the most of the box office for Top Gun
Oh
happened in
God,
America.
he said it straight.
No, I'm
Oh
saying
God, he said it
most
straight.
of the-
It's
most
true,
of the
it's
box
true.
office for most of the box office with Top Gun was from America, okay? But Avatar has most of its box office overseas, so this is the first time where America isn't centered in the conversation. And because it isn't
What about-
centered in the conversation, then all of us are like, well, it has no impact. But who knows how much impact it has overseas? So I'm
What
saying
about the
that
solo Superman movie?
bro, forget Superman.
Okay, Avatar is just like a Marvel movie.
How
And
about
that's
this?
not
How
a
about
knock
this
against Jim
comment?
Cameron.
How about this
It's
comment
just true.
now?
It's just
Read
true.
this comment.
But
Read this
I
comment
don't
now.
say Terminator is like a Marvel movie because that is actually something special. And I think
Terminator also
that
went down
franchise,
the
what
drain.
he did with that is something amazing. But Avatar, this is like his answer to a Marvelous, you know?
Look at Alex's comment. Avatar is more comparable to Christopher Nolan. Now, this is a good point I didn't think of. Yeah, you have to compare Avatar to a Nolan movie, where a director gets full budget to make whatever he wants, except Cameron every time outperforms Nolan. Now you can debate whether Cameron's a better filmmaker than
Now
Nolan.
let's
That's
think
a
why.
conversation. Huh?
Now let's think why Avatar specifically is
No,
so
and Terminator.
outperformed.
I would say Terminator and Avatar outperform Batman outside of just Dark Knight. Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises are the only two movies that had.
So then the point we all agree on, which you said, is that he's just an individualist director who gets to show his vision, but he has unlimited budget to make a better version of a Marvel movie.
Everyone except for Umar and you are on my side. They're all like, it's compared to Transformers. Like $2 billion is a rarity, man. It's gonna $2 billion twice. It's gonna back to back.
Didn't Avengers make $2 billion?
Okay, so it took 30 Marvel movies for them to build every character to make $2 billion. Avatar with no characters and no one can name like
The first one made $1 billion.
No one
The first Avengers
Because
made $1 billion.
Again, you're making my point. It's a better made Marvel movie.
No, it's not though.
Story-wise,
it's
no different from a Marvel movie. It is not better. It is not worse. It's no different. They're very baseline movies. Nothing crazy happened. He did not subvert the genre in any way whatsoever. As not against James Cameron, he's one of the best directors of all time, and some of his other films are some of the best of all time. But Avatar specifically is a very safe movie story-wise. So then the only comparison is the visuals and the visual spectacle, which is just much better than Marvel, which is why I made the money. Because it's fun to see. It's fun to watch. And it does it better than everybody else.
Technical change has never been done. Like no one makes movies like that, even from a visual perspective. So that thing. Marvel has the same budget. They're not doing it. There's no excuse.
There you go. Now there is cultural impact. I agree. The pop culture impact is behind the screen, but that's it.
Fine. It can be whatever it is.
How he made the movie.
The MCU pumps out movies.
The movies being
quicker,
made in the future.
Yeah.
That is the big impact. I agree with that.
That's not a good thing either. Them pumping movies out quick is not a good thing either.
Yeah, but it's a reality of
that.
like what
Another Alec is spitting, bro. Endgame was the result of a following that was gathered, not because it was a great film. Endgame doesn't carry the same experience as the opening night, but Avatar will. That's a good point because Avatar, again, people are not showing up because I remember Avatar 1. In fact, to your point, people probably don't remember Avatar 1 from a story perspective. They are showing up because they know this is a movie you have to see. And the fact that it just has the title, you have to see it, the end, is enough of a culture of pop culture impact because you have to see it. Whereas after Endgame is just like, oh, you have to because we saw Iron Man, we see Captain America again, you got to go do it, you know.
Okay, you have to see it based on different reasons, so you have to see it. So it doesn't make any difference than Marvel movie. It doesn't make it any different, you know. It's just a perfect made Marvel movie on a CGI level, and the story is just as good,
bro.
If not,
someone's saying quit trolling by saying it's a Marvel movie better than that. Samir, end the debate.
It's a Marvel movie just based on
what any Marvel movie ever made.
It's just a much better Marvel movie. It's just weak CGI with a basic story. This is just the best CGI ever with a basic story. So that's the only difference.
Samir, and finalize the debate.
I agree with Shiraz more. I don't think it's a Marvel movie. I think there's a lot more elements to the story than just anything compared to Marvel, because then you can just say that about everything. Everything is just a better Marvel movie because it's just done everything better. It's just done the same things but better.
No, you can't say that. You can't say that because they are different.
It didn't have the forced jokes or whatever.
Listen to me.
It didn't have the bad like gray color grading and like the no visuals. Obviously, the visuals are everything, and this, just because the CGI is better, like he put his work into that. That was the whole point of the movie, right? It's not like Marvel where they need the jokes and the story, and then they got the visuals. They just have to put it in. They put no work into it. It's all just gray and bad. And the story was mid. The stories for Marvel are mid. The story for Avatar is just okay, obviously, but that's the only part that I would agree with you. That the story is just okay. There's
I agree. The weakest part of Avatar is the story, not the writing. The story, because again, you made it for the writing. There's no forced jokes. I don't remember anyone quipping this movie. It was just straightforward blockbuster.
Okay, let me think. You're saying everything wrong with the Marvel movie that this doesn't have, so it's a better Marvel movie.
No,
yeah, but then everything's
a better Marvel movie. So is Banshees.
No,
Banshees
it's not Marvel movie because this is a CGI fest. Marvel movie CGI fest. This is none of the problems that Marvel movie has.
Oh God, he got you.
But it has the same story, the same basic story as in like a base level story where they're not that good, not that great, not horrible.
There's some layers to
this
Marvel do. There's layers as Marvel doesn't do. Marvel does like, oh, let's go watch Peter Quill do the dance again while everyone claps. Like,
listen,
yes, I remember that.
Listen, for the chat who doesn't understand my comparison, I'm saying box office wise, that is why it's doing well because it's just a much better made Marvel movie. That's why it gets so much money.
There's
But
no
I
reason
compare this more
for a
to-
But
movie
that is
10
not.
years
That
apart.
has nothing to do with
There's
the
no
argument.
There's no reason for a movie 10 years apart to do that much the same numbers, unless it has a lot of impact.
I'm
Marvel,
saying
they
that's
don't
not
do
my
billion
argument.
like that.
That has nothing to do with the argument of the cultural impact. The comparison of Marvel, that's
It's
only
over.
a box office thing.
You
I'm
said-
saying.
Alex saying you're
Zane is right, bro. It's
that
over.
much water because Transformers is a better Marvel is more like a Marvel movie than Avatar. Avatar's like Lord of the Rings. If you
Listen,
compare
I-
it to Lord of
Not
the
true.
Rings.
After nothing like
Yo,
Lord of the
stop,
Rings.
bro.
There's
What are you
nothing
saying?
Listen,
No,
I compare
Avatar
Avatar
is not
more
true.
to Dune
Remember,
than-
I'm looking ahead right now. I'm telling you right now from
Right.
5 years ago. The 5 years ago, Strauss took a time machine and just came back telling me that 5 movies in, Avatar is a crazy juggernaut. We're
Okay,
gonna
wait,
look
see,
back.
no,
We're
no,
gonna
no,
sit
no.
here and we're gonna
Don't
be like,
tell me-
why is
Exactly.
Avatar?
What did I say? What did I say when we started? It all banks on Avatar 3 and then going forward. Don't tell
Don't
me
worry, because
what it's
Zack
gonna
Snyder
be.
reference
I'm
right
saying
now.
what it is right now. I'm saying what it is right now just based on 2 films.
Was Avatar
I'm
on
pretty
Lord of the
sure
Rings?
Avatar 2 is gonna go crazy, and then I'm even more invested in the franchise. But right now, it's just a very safe story, kind of boring actually, but the visuals are just so amazing that everybody just has to see it. That's the difference.
Listen. I'd compare this more to Dune because most of this movie was just the world building, which was done obviously very well, and almost no movie has done something like that. That's why I compare more to Dune than to Marvel. That's it. Plus it wasn't
Dune,
even
Dune
that.
is a good comparison. It is closer to Dune.
You know,
I like
see,
Dune as a
no,
movie.
you made my exact point of my biggest gripe with the film, is that
What?
both this and the first film were just world building movies, and a lot of the, at least a half an hour of the movie was like I was in Best Buy in the TV section watching like the high fidelity rate nature scenes in the TV screens. It was just there to show the amazing visuals, but if anything, that's just a knock on the film story.
But that's what Dune did too. It was just
Yeah, Dune the same thing. Just looking at fun
Okay,
sand. looking at the desert.
no. Dune is the first film. You have to set it up. After the second film, to say the first film.
No, but if
First
Dune
one
They're
had
did,
setting up
but
like
just
a
if
Dune
whole
had a
place.
10-year
now
gap
we're in a
between
different
place,
place.
then they went
Now
to
it's
a
to the
whole-
world building again. You know,
if there's a 10-year gap between Dune 1 and Dune 2, I guarantee you they would even Denis Villeneuve would do it, try to recap the movie in some way and try to explain like what the world was, because the world of Avatar is like people watch it. People, again, you're right on one thing. No one cares about the characters that much. Just want to see like someone with his mind just created this universe, which is not like an adoption of something, and you want to see like what the hell is this guy thinking of? Like, what is he doing?
see,
with
you're contradicting yourself
good
again.
point. Look at
yourself.
the point here.
Then what is Lord of the Rings? Lord of the Rings is an adaptation. Harry Potter's an
No,
adaptation.
but
But you do not have
just
to
look
be
at
adaptation.
I'm saying
You know?
just look at the movie adaptations, right, as themselves. There is a level of care and dedication to not just adapting it, but doing it the right way and doing it earnestly, which earnest movies don't get box office. Like said, every movie is a joke now. And look here, Avatar's close to $3 billion. The fact that the Avatar 1 made $2.5 billion, these are numbers that we don't see outside any. So 30 Marvel movies, they don't reach that. And this did it without any problem, but out of nowhere. And the second movie is going to hit $2 billion too, which means this might have two movies have close to $4 billion. Now, almost $5 billion with 2 movies. That's never
again,
happened before.
Remember,
In
this
history.
is how do the arguments start? What is pop culture? What are we basing it on? You're right now basing on box office again. Box
be
office
multiple
equates to pop culture. So that's what you're saying.
It depends.
You keep banking on box office, so then you're making my point at the beginning that okay, then box office based on pop culture, then Transformers and Avatar are equivalent.
I'm not hating you here. I feel like the problem is I haven't seen Avatar, and so I can't really comment too much about it. I can only like watch Zane do work, but
It was
you know,
listen,
it is what
listen,
it is.
Avatar
Was
an
it
amazing
on the
film.
same level? Let me ask a question.
I
Let me ask
have
you
it
this.
in
Was it
my
on the
top
same level
10,
as Lord of the
top
Rings?
10.
No,
Was
it's
it-
not
not close
on
to
the
the
same level. It's the
It's
same
not
class. It's on the same level. It's the same class. So if there's a class of movies, it was called blockbusters, which are done with the real filmmaker's eye. It's literally Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Avatar, and the other one. The other one that people are like, oh, yeah, it's maybe Top Gun or something. You know?
So
Yeah,
you
but
got
Harry Potter and Avatar aren't like they're not like Lord of the Rings, like from a quality standpoint. They're not the same. They're not,
If
they're
anything,
not
no.
the
If
same
anything,
level.
even from Harry Potter, I would literally even go one step further. It's Avatar, Lord of the Rings, and Dune. That's it. The 3 of 3. You know.
Dune is kind
See,
of
I
bad,
don't agree.
but it's fine.
I don't think it's in there. I think it belongs
No,
in the
because-
superhero category. It is at the top of the superhero category.
It's
That's
not
what
a,
it is.
Not
It's-
a superhero film in any way.
When I watch
Other than
Avatar,
Fine, Gandalf's also superhero.
I
He's
see
just
it
like
more
Doctor
as a
Strange.
superhero movie.
Gandalf's
Huh?
also superhero, just like Doctor Strange. So like, there you go. He's a superhero movie.
Yeah,
It's not
Doctor
superhero.
Strange is bottom tier, you idiot.
I'm saying,
But
why is it a
Avatar's at the
superhero?
top.
I'm saying you're saying that as a superhero. Like, why is it a superhero? Because then why isn't Gandalf a superhero? Why isn't Harry Potter just like Doctor Strange? You know?
I don't compare Transformers and Lord of the Rings. Do you?
No, but you shouldn't compare Transformers.
No,
to
there you go.
Alex.
No, that's it. That's the end.
Like
That's the end.
again, you're making my
That's
point.
the end.
Just
What
because
is your
you're comparing
Transformers
it-
to?
Everyone's disagreeing with you, so no one's comparing Transformers ever except for you and Umar, because Umar didn't know what he's talking about. So it's just you, okay?
Okay. There is
I might have to just watch it now. I might have to just
No
watch it just to agree with Zane.
there's no difference.
I wasn't gonna watch it, but now I'm gonna watch it.
It's just a CGI spectacle
What
with
me
a
and
very
Samir saying
basic
that- what
story.
me and Samir is saying that if you dilute rather everything to that, then everything is a Marvel movie with CGI fest. Like, and then it's not
No,
the
still,
world. Isn't
not
just,
everything.
The world
Not
isn't
everything.
just Banshees and then everything else, because everything is CGI now. So it's just a matter of like how you're gonna do it. And this movie
Okay,
is doing.
I know
something
everything's
pretty bold
CGI.
with everything CGI.
I know everything's CGI.
You're
but there's
comparing
always-
this to like Korg is talking to Thor. He's talking to nobody in a different room. Like they put so much craft in making this. If you watch the behind
Okay,
the scenes,
and
how
I'm
they made
saying
this movie.
that's why this is the absolute pinnacle. It's the pinnacle of that. That's not a bad thing. So you're saying you're such a Snyder cultist. You love BVS. You love Man of Steel. You love that
Those
kind of
are
Justice League.
made by filmmakers.
Those aren't bad movies. Those are very good movies. So just because this is in the category of those movies and it being the
Hello.
pinnacle
Hello.
of that untouchable
Hello.
level,
Why
that
do
doesn't
we-
mean it's a
why
bad
do we
thing,
say-
but that is
why
the
do we-
reality of what the movie is.
Why do we say that Nolan's trilogy, Snyder's stuff, maybe Raimi's stuff, and Joker and the Batman? Why do we say that those movies are better than that? It's because they're supposed to hold you transcending superhero, meaning
That's
they're
the-
so good that they leave the superhero genre. And
Smear
they become
doesn't say
better
that,
than the genre.
No, I do
Okay,
say that because
how does Avatar
because the
do that?
story for that is also bad.
You're comparing story.
I'm
You're comparing writing. Avatar's writing is so basic.
No, it's good. You're not seeing the layers.
No, it's not. Oh, a little bit of like animal stuff,
Well,
a little bit of
family.
this, a little bit of nature stuff, but
Yeah, but
it's such a base level
some-
story. And that's actually once again my biggest gripe with this film, because you look at James Cameron, we did with something like Terminator, he went off on that story. It's just an amazing story. But Avatar, he's playing it so safe, and that's why my
Listen, it's
hope
about-
or my thing is that Avatar 3 is gonna go crazy.
Listen, it's about unity and colonialism.
Yes, exactly.
It's about family.
Stop, bro.
It's a movie about colonialism
You
and
sound like Shaw's talking about the ultimate immigration story. It's not that serious. Relax.
It actually
Okay?
is, but you gotta watch Avatar. That's what the whole movie is. That's what the whole story
It's not that
No,
serious. That's
it's
not what.
it's about colonialism and
Before Shaw's wrote that article, no one thought that way.
and bro, because I'm seeing it different, bro. All right, so that's it. We've debated it. Let's put the gloves
My
down.
final point is that
Where'd
I
you point?
gave
Everybody-
Avatar 4.5 out of 5. I think it was one of the best movies of the year, but I'm also not falling into the trap that everybody does. That it's like,
I'm
oh,
telling
it's
you
the
that,
best thing
listen,
in history, best thing
we're
in existence.
already-
It is not. It's just
The difference
okay,
is-
and it's
Most
amazing.
of the best.
That's
It's
it.
not even. It's 5 on my top 5. I'm not saying it's the best movie of the year. I'm just saying
Compared
that.
to Lord of the Rings. Lord of the
Yeah, I'm
Rings
saying
is the best film.
it's not by Lord of the Rings in like pure film to film fight.
It's not even in the category.
It's in the same category.
It's in the category of super films, and it's the best of them.
Gideon Fatma's point, my point. I said I'm on the boat, and we all are on the boat. The boat is going to the end of Avatar 5, and I'm saying that already. Get ready, because I'm gonna look back and you be like, "Oh, you didn't see it, but I saw it." I'm gonna be like, "Oh, I saw this before you. I saw it going this way." And you're saying you agree that it's gonna be crazy at the end of the 5th movie, and then we're gonna say at the end of the 5th movie we're gonna place it in that class. I'm saying we're.
Grass, is it better than Man of Steel?
Okay.
Huh?
And I'm saying, I don't look at the future what it could be. I'm saying what it is right now.
Yeah, but I'm
Is
not
it better
saying
than Man of Steel? That's the
We're
question.
seeing
The
future.
question to ask Roz, right now, to end the whole debate, is it better than Man of Steel? And if he lies and he says something that we know he doesn't believe, then we know where he's nuts.
Listen, a movie you like more, it's not the difference. A movie that's better. We all like movies better than Avatar. Avatar, if I put it in my most liked movies, not even top 100.
I like
I'm
it.
saying, yeah, you sure would like it. But I'm saying that I can
I like
appreciate art.
I like the nature part.
The nature is good. Okay, I'm big on nature.
I like
Is
the
it
little
is
bit.
it better made? Is it a better made movie
Oh,
than
yeah.
Man of Steel?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's falling
It's
to the
100% better made.
Besides the CGI, besides the
I
CGI,
get it now.
besides the CGI, besides the CGI, besides the visual.
Avatar 3
Yeah, of
has to
course
go
it's better.
crazy because this is a very safe and boring franchise so far. But the visuals are the only thing keeping me entertained.
Also, is the Batman better than Avatar? Is
Yeah.
it better made?
Of course,
It's a better movie. Yeah,
Yeah, so then it's the same category. Then you can't put it in the Lord of the Rings category because we
I
don't
said
touch that.
Pinocchio is better too. I'm not saying Pinocchio and Avatar in the same category. I'm saying one has a lot more impact. That's it.
It's true.
If
Yeah, but
anything,
then you said
Pinocchio and Avatar should be because they're both animation.
What's wrong with this guy? Yeah.
I'm saying it just more
Okay.
in comparison with the superhero movie than it does with Lord of the Rings.
It's time to end the stream, okay? Because I'm
All
tired.
right. So with the end of this debate, Umar, come back on camera. With the end of this debate, this guy loves flashing his camera. All right. So good debate. We do have our top 10. This is also the end of this is the 5th year of cinema debate, which is kind of crazy. So I just wanted to point that out. Like we did 5 years of this now. Like we're wilding out. So well, I guess it's 4, but we started in December. We started in November of 2017, and it's on December of 2022. So I guess, oh god, last second for do it. Either it's Jan's burner, but someone with, I kid you not, a Spider-Man No Way Home profile picture is here to say that after the water was so bad, the story is badly written. James Cameron's arrogant racist. This is what's happening. And Spider-Man No Way Home is the best movie of 2022. 90% of its theatrical run was in 2022. So I thought No Way Home was a 2022 movie. Bro, who have you invited, Jan? You invited a MCU shill to the chat.
Okay. What's the difference between MCU cults and it's not a cult just like the chat right now?
No difference. But
there you go. No difference. No difference.
Now, before we end the call, Avatar: Way of Water versus Spider-Man No Way Home, you better answer truthfully.
Yeah, Spider-Man's a better movie. I don't care.
Oh my god.
What about that one?
I didn't say what you enjoy more. I said, what's the better man movie?
I swear to God, the writing in Spider-Man No Way Home was better than the writing after.
Someone stop this guy. He's going too far. He's going too far.
No, I'm not going too far.
The writing,
there was more enjoyable writing. There was more consequences. Avatar 2 was such a safe movie, and it was kind of boring for that reason.
The writing of
No Way Home, the one where they say Scooby-Doo or something.
Yes, that is the movie. Yes, that is that movie. Good for bringing it up. Yeah, they're like, oh, go Scooby-Doo this. I'm like, yeah, that's the movie. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. You know,
I never said. I don't care.
That's it. Now you get with the comments. He's saying, look at that. Like, Spider-Man's not better than Avatar. My God, what is this? How the mighty have fallen. Green is losing it. And then the one agreement with Spider-Man No Way Home just kills Avatar 2. This is your crowd.
I won't lie. I enjoyed No Way Home much more than Avatar 2.
Oh, you know what? No Way Home gave me more joy. But why?
I did not enjoy
nostalgia pandering. It was nostalgia pandering. If Tobey Maguire wasn't in it, we'd be cursing it out.
It had more cultural impact.
That's true. Again, but he was.
I don't care
again. Okay, at least you admitted it. There you go. So for you, nostalgia is pop culture impact. Thank you, Zion. Thank you, Zion. There you go.
You have to the movie what it is. If you say if this wasn't this wasn't that, you can go on forever dissecting movies what they weren't. This is what it was, and I enjoyed it much more than after.
Right. In the end, let's let the comments decide. Let us know what you think about this Avatar debate. Let us know in the comments below. Give your top 10 lists.
Wait, stop.
What?
Did you like Zack Snyder's Justice League more than After 2?
Huh? Did I like it? Yeah.
Was Zack Snyder's Justice League better movie than After 2?
Well, Zack Snyder is a better filmmaker than.
It was
no, just answer the question.
John Watts.
Answer the question.
Huh? I just told you that you didn't like something more. What's a better made movie?
I said it's better. I'm asking you, is it a better movie?
Is it better?
What a better made movie? No, Avatar's probably better made.
No, movie. I said, is it a better movie? Not better made. It's a better movie.
It's better. Yeah.
I like just
better made. You only look at how it's made. Better movie. You look at the totality of everything. Is it a better movie or not?
Yeah, look at the totality.
It's better. It is.
No, but wait. So what's that saying? What's better?
It's a better movie. That is, you're making my point. It's no different. When you came out of Spider-Man No Home last year, you said it's better than Zack Snyder's Justice League, so you're making my point.
I said I had more fun on it than Zack Snyder. No, my word is fun.
It doesn't matter. If even for a second you thought it was a better movie, because of whatever reason, you had more fun. I said too. No. I enjoyed.
We have to separate nostalgia. Like it's like saying, yeah, I like eating a McDonald's more than eating a 5-star restaurant, but you can still say 5-star restaurant is better than McDonald's. You know, like there's a difference between it. Just because you're craving something once in a while, it's still
but McDonald's and Wendy's is the same. So
I didn't say Wendy's. It's McDonald's versus a 5-star restaurant. McDonald's and Wendy's is like saying that Black Panther versus Thor Ragnarok, or Black Adam versus Thor Ragnarok. That's comparing Wendy's and McDonald's. I'm making
Avatar is kind of Subway.
All right, that's it. We're done now. Okay, we're done with the stream. Like I said,
Zack Snyder's Justice League better, and there you go. That's it. That's the difference. It's the same thing.
My favorite movies are different than.
I disagree. It's not better.
I then Samir disagree. There you go. All right.
Yeah, but let me
wrap it up.
You should have asked him about Man of Steel.
All right. What did you guys think about this debate? Let us know in the comments below. What was your top 10 films list? Give us that as well. We're excited to read it. We'll see you in 2023. From myself, from Zion, from Umar, and from Samir, we're the Farooqi Bros. We'll see you next time. Peace out.